Hi, I'm Chris McClanahan with Deeply Dapper, and we decided to do a little something different. We have a podcast called The Podcasket, and it's been on hiatus for a while, but I wanted to put a little bit of content out still, and I thought about doing some like Christmas movie reviews and stuff, and sit and watch every vile, terrible Hallmark Christmas movie that was out there. It wasn't fun. So I gave up on that. And instead, I decided that for this Christmas and maybe other Christmases, we'll see, I would watch some classic or not so classic noir movies. Or maybe even some modern noir, crime, detective, that kind of thing. Kind of a I'm scheming of a noir Christmas kind of thing. So that's what this is going to be. Just some quick videos. I might compile them together into a podcast or something like that we can kind of just have fun with and just enjoy some classic old school detectives and crime and black and white and fog and shadows and stuff. Because that's what Christmas is all about. Thanks. I hope you like them. I'll be back with my first one shortly. Hi, everybody. I'm back. So I decided, well, I didn't really decide so much as I ran out of decisions to make because I have a lot of noir stuff and it's in like 7 different places. I have it saved in queues and on Blu-ray and DVD and those like super cheap 99-cent DVD collections and all sorts of different things. So I decided to kind of just randomly pick a movie that I've been curious to see that I hadn't seen yet, and I decided to go with Amazon because they have a surprisingly strong noir collection on their Prime Video selection of streaming. So we're doing some Prime streaming here. I ended up going with the big combo, mostly because it was first on the list alphabetically. So it's from 1955, and it tells the story of a detective named Leonard Diamond, Lieutenant Leonard Diamond, who is a detective in a metropolis of some sort. He is a police lieutenant who's a little obsessed with a gangster named Mr. Brown. More importantly, he's also a little obsessed with Mr. Brown's lady, who is played by Jean Wallace, who plays a character named Susan Lowell. Mr. Brown is played by Richard Conte, and Cornell Wilde plays Leonard Diamond. And it ended up being a pretty fun little solid thing. Basically, he is obsessed with Mr. Brown because he knows he's a gangster, but he can't catch him in anything. He also has a crush on the woman, so he's a little self-conscious and obsessed and driven to find Mr. Brown. So in the long run, he kind of just does a few things he probably shouldn't, but does some pretty solid detecting, which is the important thing for a detective. Batman, I'm looking at you. Eventually he catches Mr. Brown in a trip, blah, blah, blah. Spoilers, but, it's a noir. It's obviously has a sad, happy, solid walk into the mist ending. But it was a lot of fun. The important thing about these kind of movies is not so much the story as the atmosphere and the characters and whether they hit all the beats. And this one definitely does for the most part. The lighting's gorgeous. John Alton was the cinematographer on it, and he did such a great job. It was really gorgeous. Some really great shadows. There's mist, there's spotlights, there's pretty much anything you can think of to get that noir feel. It's in this movie. I was actually really impressed at how good the lighting and the cinematography was in this. I was directed by Joseph Lewis, who also did Gun Crazy, which is also a good movie. I might watch that this season too, depending. I really enjoyed it. I have to admit, as big a fan as I am of the noir genre and film noir and everything else, I kind of hate noir music to a certain extent. But more importantly, I'm not a big fan of jazz music, and this movie, rather than being mostly like instrumental noir score, it had a lot of jazz music in it. Not a ton, but enough that between it and the noir music that I'm not a huge fan of, it kind of got on my nerves after a while. And it had a digital mix on it. It's remastered, so it looks really nice, but the mix on it made the music in particular super oppressive and noticeable throughout the entire movie. Sometimes that's a good thing. In this case, it was a negative for me. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I would say Deeply Dapper, we rate things out of 8 because we're better living through tentacles. And so for this one, I'm going to give it probably a 6 out of 8. Not super high. It probably deserves to be a little higher, but honestly, the story's not solid. The story's really pretty by the numbers and nothing super special, but the acting was solid. The cinematography's great. It's worth watching just for that. But from a performance standpoint, I do think Leonard Diamond was a pretty solid detective, but Mr. Brown is kind of amusingly small and kind of squirrely. I liked him a lot, but he's certainly not what I picture when I think of a charismatic, dangerous gangster or anything like that. They did all totally nail their dialogue, though. See? Because they talk really fast and they do everything that they're supposed to do with just the perfect amount of inflection on all their lyrics. Sorry. I do not plan these ahead of time, in case you hadn't noticed. But anyway, The Big Combo, 1955. I'm Scheming of a Noir Christmas, 6 out of 8. Thanks, everybody. I hope you like these. There may be more.